to the Paint, Rest, Repeat podcast with Ros Gervais and
Laura Day, where we chat about our creative lives as artists while keeping it real and a little bit messy.
We're here to inspire creatives just like you to push past those boundaries and make art that you love. Let's dive in. Alrighty, well, we are back. Exciting. So today, Laura and I are going to dive into how to value yourself as an artist, or is it how to, Laura? Are we doing how to?
I think so. I think we're just going to have a little chitty chat today about the topic of valuing yourself.
Yeah, I think that's it. Let's work.
And what about like valuing your creative practice as well? Like I feel like it's all interconnected.
Oh, definitely. Because that, it's also that the time sort of side of things, like spending time on your art, does that feel like a luxury and something, Yeah. All right, cool. Do you want to start?
We were talking earlier and we sort of came up with a few little points that we wanted to touch on today with the overarching theme of valuing yourself and valuing yourself as an artist. And I think it leads on to the previous conversation that we've had in another podcast episode about why is it so hard to call yourself an artist? Yeah. So I feel like to start off, even just claiming that you are an artist can be like a really big statement to the world, and really owning it and really feeling good and feeling confident in saying that you are an artist. And when you're interacting in the world, you like sort of, making that statement that,
that is a huge step. That's actually episode 17. So if anyone wants to go and have a listen of that one, go for it. We sort of chat about, our different takes on that. I think, calling yourself an artist is a big one. So for the episode today, we are sort of assuming that you've gotten over that bit.
Yeah.
You're an artist, you like to make art, which is my definition of an artist. And that you're creative and all of that, but perhaps you don't value yourself. Maybe you don't feel like you're a real artist, or your art is good enough to make you officially a big public artist, or maybe you feel like your time around art making is a luxury, and you sort of feel guilty even making time for your art making. Have you had a personal experience with this, if you cast your mind back?
I think I've always been creative. I've always made time for my art practice. And when I made the decision to run my own art business, then that gave validation to like me spending numerous hours on my art practice. So there's no guilt around buying art supplies. There's no guilt around carving out time for my art practice. And there's so many things in my creative lifestyle that I've built into like having a creative business that like link into that as well. So I've done a bit of mindset and personal development work around just hanging out with my artist friends in the week. That's networking. That's part of running a creative business. And I don't feel guilty about that, because that actually helps me propel forward in my creative practice. So I know some people probably listening to this podcast might not be at that point, but I think when you have made that decision, you're in a creative business, you've got your own creative business bank account, you're generating money into that business, then all the art supplies, that's operating expenses, like that's that's all of that money comes into it. So I think maybe the struggle might be going from like a hobby, from that hobby level. That's where all of those sort of feelings might surface. What about for you? What's your take on that?
Yeah. So my take on the I've got a really messy brain today, by the way, just so you know. So my take on the sort of valuing myself as an artist, gosh, that's a really tricky one, isn't it? I know that my guilt and all of that has reduced over time as I'm getting more and more into my business, and all of that, my guilt has reduced. And so I sort of feel like it's just what I do now. But yes, when it was a part-time side gig sort of thing, that was a lot harder to justify, and definitely finding that balance with my partner as well, to like that when I'm making art, I'm not just, skipping on the kids or whatever it is, I'm actually working. It's such a funny concept, isn't it? Because I think actually that ties back to the whole belief that for something to be a job, you can't like entirely enjoy it, which by the way is BS, because because I love almost all of my art job. I adore, and you're probably the same, Laura.
I mean, there's not so fun admin computer stuff.
Like filing? I just don't do that. I just skip that
bit. But yeah, like a lot of it is amazing. And yeah, I feel like a lot of my leisure time and a lot of my life, the, sort of creative lifestyle aspects, it all feeds into my business, like going to a gallery show or going to the art supply shop or hanging out with you on Zoom, and like
it's all just sort of part of it.
Podcast.
Yeah, well, that's also something that we were going to talk about as a key part of valuing yourself as an artist, is having a community and having other people and other artists, or at least, creative beings or people in business, maybe small business buddies that you can bounce ideas off. Like that's really, really powerful as well.
Yeah, and champion you and boost up your confidence. And I think, if you're experiencing any of those feelings, they can sort of help to sort of talk you through. And we were talking about that in relation with artists feeling like they're being taken advantage of or being asked to work for free for exposure, because there is that sort of I don't know, societal like they undervalue the arts.
Yeah, societal norm, shall we call it
that? Something like that. I wasn't sure how to describe it.
I was sitting there going, what's the word? Oh yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and not falling into that trap, because if you have done that personal development and mindset work around valuing your work, valuing your time, because even if you enjoy doing it, it doesn't mean that you don't have to get paid for it. You can actually get paid really well to do creative projects.
We all have a right to enjoy how we spend our time on this planet, as long as we're not hurting other people, right? So so yeah, totally. And actually this reminds me a little bit of the recent project that I've been working on with my local council, and my contact person there is, swear word, amazing. Like, she is so so beautiful. So if you're listening, Bianca, hi. She's just amazing, and for multiple reasons, but one reason is from the outset, she said, Ros, the work that you're doing for us at the moment, we're going to pay you ethically for the amount of time you put into it, for all of the supplies, make sure there's a markup for the She took me through the invoicing so that it was 100% ethical, fair, market value. She pointed me to, is it the National Association of Visual Artists, NAVA? to check on rates and things like that. So if you're listening or watching and you want to join that, go ahead and do that. I haven't done that yet, but apparently it's amazing. They've got a lot of resources.
And that's for artists. That's for artists in Australia. Just for the listeners. Yeah.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah, it is.
But there'll be probably organizations or associations like that in your country if you're not Aussie. And it's just amazing. So yes, we deserve to be paid for our time. Like, how ridiculous that we wouldn't like be deserving of that. So yes, like everyone, like be proud of that. And that's why the community, like we were saying, and having art buddies or buddies in small business helps, because you can sort of cross check with them and say, look, I've been asked to do this. They only want to pay me $100. They think it's a really good opportunity for me to get my name out there. And you can chat with, your buddies about whether or not that's a good move. Sometimes it is. But a lot of the time, I think actually I'm going to say a lot of the time it isn't, but sometimes it is. If it's aligned with, the people you want to sell your art to, or the community that you really want to connect with, or the people that you really want to teach in the future, or whatever it is.
Yeah, because if it's not feeling in alignment, and it'll end up being a project that you become quite resentful of. And if you're not being valued, then it's not worth doing.
No.
Like if the people that are approaching you are not valuing what you're doing, then just pass it up and try for a different project, or
100%.
And I think it's probably worth, if people haven't done this work before, like doing a little exercise and thinking about like, what is your base rate? What's your hourly rate that you would feel comfortable working for, and then have that as, sort of back of the mind when people are approaching you, and then just sort of do a little estimate of how many hours you think that's going to take you, and then feel into that, like if that is you're willing to work for that much, and then if not, pass it up, I guess.
Yeah. And I think, as you say, feeling into that is really important. Like, I feel like I'm only just learning how to do that. And how, like I'm not looking so much to the rest of the art market for an indication as to how to price my things. Instead, I'm thinking like, what do I want to charge for this that I feel comfortable with? Not too cheap, not too expensive. I feel good about this, and I feel like it's a fair price for everybody. So it's definitely good, that looking inward side of things.
And we were talking about earlier about the emotional roller coaster that this whole art journey can take you on. And when you're stepping into professional practice as an artist, the dedication and persistence it takes to really forge this career. And like, that's what you're signing up for too. Like, you're signing up for inconsistent income. You're signing up for a gig-based economy. You're signing up for potentially people wanting you to work for like nothing or free or pennies, or you're also signing up for people that really value the arts and inviting you into really great, amazing opportunities. But we just wanted to sort of recognize that emotional roller coaster.
Yeah, because that's the other thing, is you're signing up for those emotions, like I had a story that I was mentioning to Laura before that I wanted to share as well, which was this piano that I've been painting for my local council. And, like I've been painting for a while. The subject matter that I'm painting is within my comfort zone. But I did the classic roller coaster thing. So I went at this project. I was like, OMG, yes, I am doing this. Sign me up. I'm doing it. I really want to paint this piano because I love music as well. So I was all like so excited. I'm like, I'm there, and get started. And I'm like, yeah, this is going to look amazing. So it's just on track. And then I'm like, oh, hang on. Actually, I don't know about this. This is looking a little bit average. No, this is no good. Why did I say yes to this? And then, you just push through. And so I pushed through and kept on going and rode those emotions, understanding that that's part of the journey. and I got to the end. I finished it literally yesterday, and I'm really happy with the outcome. So you could sort of quit halfway, but that wouldn't really get you anywhere. So I think as long as you can accept that journey is definitely, it's part of being an artist and part of being a creative person, then, that'll see you, what's the expression? See you in good stead.
Yeah.
Is that it?
I think, and that going back to that community aspect, every artist will tell you like that is part of the creative process. Like that is a general like flow of like how any sort of creative project like starts, and in the middle is a messy middle, and then at the end it's sort of just about bringing that to completion, and all of the emotions that come up.
And all the self-talk as well. Have you ever actually paid attention to that? It's quite epic. It's like the voices inside your head. So I'm not talking so much about the negative ones, but when you're trying to pull yourself out from the bottom part and you're trying to pull yourself back up to the, I'm acing this, I'm going to finish it and it's going to look amazing. You're like, I can do it. I can do it. I know how to do this. I've done this many times before. I know what I like. I can see that bit needs a little bit of that and this bit needs a bit of that. And then you just sort of work through it and get yourself to the end. So, yeah.
And every day you're going to show up different. And like you're going to perceive things in different ways. And, sometimes it's that cheerleader egging you on, and sometimes it is that inner critic, and it's not good or bad. It's just good to notice it and like be aware and see, this is that interesting little story that keeps popping up. And don't
give it meaning. I think that's the thing, like if you have those negative thoughts and then you give it meaning, it's like, this means that I am not an artist or I'm not good enough. Like just cut that voice short before it gets to there. Or if it starts to go into those sort of sentences, just stop it at that point, because it doesn't actually mean anything. It's the roller coaster. That's it.
Can I bring the conversation back to valuing yourself as an artist, and then also the other I know, but like I've got a trail of thought that I want to bring up. So it's the other people around you in your network and how they view art, because sometimes some of the people in our direct network, friends, family members, spouses, they might not see the arts in the same way as you. And like, how can we build ourselves up, and how can we set boundaries in terms of making that space for ourselves, and helping them to see the value in what you're doing as well?
This just reminds me of how we often say that art is a career for stubborn people, because I really do think that's the number one.
That's so true. Where did you hear that?
I don't know.
Like, I feel like I've been a stubborn person. No, I'm not sure. Art is a career for stubborn people. That's really interesting. I feel like that so explains me. I'm like, I'm going to do it anyways, despite you.
I genuinely think that is a thing, though, because especially when you're starting out, like going from another job and then going into full-time art, it takes epic persistence. And it really does. Yeah. And you do come up against zillions, maybe that's a lot. Maybe at least 10 people who are of that view. Sorry, don't mean to make you choke. People who don't value the art or arts, or don't value small business, even think that you should have an office job. Or something safe. I remember my mum was always about, you need a safe job. Don't give up that job, because I used to be a primary teacher. So don't give up that job. You've got to, keep your position just in case. And, it's my mum looking after me, so that's nice. But it's just I don't know. It's tricky, isn't it? Do you have people, you don't have to name names, but can you think of specific people that have been like that in your journey?
Oh, I know my family has always wanted me to have a sensible, stable job. My mum said that to my friend at my birthday party. Like, I'm 38 now. It's been going on for ages. I went to art school when I was 18. Like, it's 20 years. Come on. Like,
yeah. And what do you do? Like, I just tend to ignore, I think, generally. But sometimes, depending on my emotional state, I can be quite upset. But there's nothing, like, I have learned there's not that much you can say back, really. You just, what do they say? Zip it, lock it, put it in your pocket, something like that. You just I don't know. I don't say anything back anymore. I just sort of ignore and carry on.
I would rather have something that fulfills me and brings me joy. And I'm just going to say, I feel like the conventional workplace is becoming more and more irrelevant as well. I feel like more people are stepping into creating their own little enterprises. And, COVID accelerated that. Like, people are working from home, and then people realize that they can make money pursuing things that really light them up. So, yeah, I've never fit into a regular conventional mold. I've always been outside of the box, and I've become more accepting of that. I had so much inner conflict when my younger self going through art school and, feeling conflicted and not really fitting into like the regular 9-to-5 workplace. And since finding out more about myself and how I operate and really thinking about how I work best and show up in the world, being an artist like just suits me to a T, because I can set my own schedule. I can say yes and no to different projects, and I can manage my energy level. And my chronic illness is so much better now that I've got my own freedom to set my own schedule. And so I feel like, it doesn't matter what other people say. If this is the right path for you, just dedicate to it. And yeah, it is about sort of like proving all those naysayers wrong.
And it's such a big personal journey, though, and we've talked about this a little bit in previous episodes. Can't give you the episode number, sorry, but art and personal development, because it's almost like actually, what I said when I first started, first started taking my art sort of seriously was that it feels like coming home.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and I sort of forgot that sort of, what's the word, that analogy, but it's true. It's like, it's almost like self-acceptance. And that's just huge, I think. And I don't know, maybe you have to go through a bit of life before you get to that point. But yeah, I don't know. It's been a big, like, my art journey has been a big thing for me on the confidence front. And that's why I guess we come to this topic today, because both of us have been through it in different forms. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm all for it.
Yeah, it's about following that calling of the heart, isn't it? And really honoring that like little whisper and just following it through.
And not ignoring it. Like, I think so many of us are raised in that way. Like, no, this is a normal job that you should have. So that's the job you're going to have, or whatever it is, on multiple levels. I think we're just taught a lot to just bottle things up, or just, can that thought, can that desire, it's not realistic. And that's very sad.
Yeah,
I'm getting emotional, Laura. It's one of those days.
Gosh. Well, we were talking about that emotional roller coaster, weren't we? Hey, should I bring up reading the review?
Oh, yes, please.
We had a lovely review.
We did.
Yeah, I thought before we end up going on another trail of thought.
Yes, as we do. Okay, so we did have a beautiful review from the artist Sarah Mckenzie. I believe she's based where you are. Is that right?
Yeah.
Ballarat as well.
Yes.
So you can find Sarah Mckenzie over on Instagram. She is sarah.mckenzie.art, and we will pop her link down below underneath the YouTube video or the podcast, wherever you're listening. And she says, thanks again for a great podcast. Can relate to so much of what you were saying. Look forward to trying to be more intentional with goals and direction. as it is easy to just go off on whims and tangents, which can be fine, but may not always be aligned with your bigger picture. And that's so true. Like that's, because we had a really good chat about goals last week, and I think, or last fortnight, sorry. And I think we're planning, perhaps in the future, we'll do another episode, but more around, what was it? Feeling-based goal setting?
Yeah. Feeling-based goals. Yeah.
I think that will be interesting. Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah, thank you. That was a lovely review. So
let's check my notes. Okay. So we were also talking. So Laura takes notes for our podcast in like typed note form, and I do the mind map, and it just works for our different brains. Okay. So I've got my mind map in front of me, and we've sort of talked about a whole lot of it. We're going to talk a little bit about money. I mean, you talked about hourly rates and knowing your worth and all of that.
Yeah.
But then there was pricing your art, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a whole nother topic in itself. But yeah, I mean, pricing your art does relate back to valuing yourself as an artist. And also like actually setting up your art as a proper like business. Like that's a huge, big step that you're like, I'm taking this seriously. Like this is, you know, what I am building. But also what I've been experimenting with lately was the profit first as well, and paying yourself first. Energetically, I feel like that's super exciting for me.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm still diving into my money mindset, and it is evolving. And my baseline hourly rate has just raised over the last couple of years. I just feel so much more confident around that because I have dedicated to that work and professional development around it. But yeah, the profit first, I feel very excited about because that will be like amazing special money. It's 10% of my income. And I'm setting that aside, and I will draw from that. And, you know, it's tangible money that I'll get at the end of each quarter. And then I get to choose what to, you know, if I want to go and get a beautiful massage or just do something as a celebration for the money that I've generated in my art business. And it is like, it's a symbol of like, you know, what I'm creating, which is amazing. But yeah, just having those structures in place and, you know, paying yourself well, raising your hourly rates, feeling that you're charging enough and charging like an honorable rate that feels in alignment to you, you know, that can go a long way. And I believe, Roz, you had a specific like planning guide.
Oh, yes.
You wanted to refer people to for like people that are wanting to look at pricing their paintings.
Yeah, definitely. So I have an artwork pricing guide for original artworks, although you could apply it to a few other versions like prints maybe. But yeah, if you want to go and grab that, we'll pop the link down below. Just takes you through a few different options like pricing by square inch, by a linear inch, and also by the time-based model as well. But yeah, so much of it does relate to your worth and knowing how much to charge, especially on an hourly basis, and how to manage also, this is an interesting one, how to manage the price of art in the same sort of market that you're in and your charges and what you charge. Because I think, I swear that places like Etsy, I don't know if you've ever sold work on Etsy, they are not good. I just feel, I don't know, opinion may change, but I feel it's not good for the value of art in this world. I just feel like the prices on there are pushing art prices down, and I don't think it's good for artists. But yeah, what do you think actually? I know we don't want to dive too deep today.
I know,
but, you know.
I know. I will make another episode specific for pricing your work. And I think in relation to getting ready for exhibitions, I feel like we've definitely got to have chats about those topics. But yeah, I think, you know, if you value yourself, then maybe think about retailers or galleries or online marketplaces that value the arts and that are not beating the prices down for artists and making really affordable art. I think it is more about placing your work in those contexts and really exploring those options if you need like a different distribution channel other than like your own marketing channel.
This is a juicy topic.
I know
because I've got so many
Yeah.
thoughts right now. I think we're just going to have to save it for another episode. Because
but I just wanted to mention your guide for everyone. So we will put that in the show notes. I think that is sort of relevant to the topic today. Let us know what you think of this episode, and for future topics around getting ready for an exhibition and pricing your work, just let us know if they would be of interest to you. Is there anything else you want to add for the topic today, Ros? Or
I think that's all really. But yeah, just that the hottest tip probably about valuing yourself as an artist is finding some people to support you. I think that is got to be the absolute number one. It's the whole believing mirrors thing as well, you know.
Yeah, Julia Cameron, Believing Mirrors, definitely.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening to our episode this fortnight. We will be back in 2 weeks with another exciting topic. Who knows what it will be? If you would like to leave us a review over on Apple Podcasts, that would be amazing. That will help us to reach even more creatives just like you and help them on their journey. We will pop down below as well a link to some instructions for how to leave that review, because it can be a little bit tricky, especially if you're not an Apple user like us. I don't think you're an Apple user either, are you? No. It's okay. Once you know the steps, it's easy enough. So thanks, guys, again, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye, Laura.
Bye.